Goodness, Tash, Charlotte Griffiths, Miss G-string, Prince Harry's little bit on the side, all of a sudden is starting to drop truth bombs. Do you think it is because we've now all read the messages and we do have the proof of what she had been saying behind the scenes for years, that there was this relationship with Harry, and of course she does have a particular insight?
Charlotte Snuggles is no longer feeling snuggly anymore, clearly. So, I mean, she could be slightly angry and peeved that not only did she keep this relationship quiet for a large number of years, which she could have easily solved. I think it's more that Harry tried to destroy her career by not only calling her a liar, but by also saying in court that she obtained information illegally. He accused her of criminal acts. So if Charlotte now is suddenly, singing like a canary, I can't blame her. And I actually say good for her. In fact, I see more and more people coming forward now because people just no longer feel the need that they should hold back and respect Harry's privacy when he respects absolutely no one else's.
No, true. I mean, this, Tash, in particular was to do with Prince William's coronation, which is obviously a sensitive subject because if you talk about it, Tash, does that mean you are acknowledging the mortality of King Charles III, who is going through this monstrous cancer battle? But Charlotte Griffiths did decide to go there to reveal that Prince William has absolutely no intention of his younger brother being at that event. And that would be a seismic moment, Tash, because that would be saying it's done. It's over. Forever. There is no way back. It's a bit like if you don't invite one of your relatives to your wedding, But anyway, this was all part of her ongoing royal commentary on GB News, which is now quite a pro Harry and Meghan channel. So I do find it weird. And I will also say, Tash, I find it weird that she, on all of her mainstream media platforms, including Palace Confidential, the Daily Mail and GB News, she hasn't spoken at all about the messages or been asked about the messages because, Tash, I adore you, but just say a whole load of messages between you and Prince Harry had emerged. I don't think I'd be able to have you here and just pretend like it's business as usual. Do you know what I mean? Like, we'd have to talk about it. Yeah. Well, we just have to talk about it, though, right? Just to be honest. And I do find it weird that there's almost this weird complicity of silence. Like, oh, yeah, like we didn't all see that Charlotte Griffiths and Prince Harry were probably shagging. It's just, anyway. But look, I want to show you what she said. Then we will analyse it, okay?
And there was a time not so long ago where we would never speak of William's coronation because it was supposed to be this thing that's happening in the distant future and we weren't supposed to speculate about Charles's health and cancer battle. But anyway, it's in the public domain now. People are starting to speculate about what it will be like when William's king. And I think the first thing he will do is exclude his brother from the line of succession, probably take away his titles, and from the actual day of the coronation itself.
Do you think that's driven by spite? Is William at the stage now where you could say that he genuinely, and I don't know whether this is too strong a word, but hates his brother?
I don't think it's too strong a word. And I think it is driven by spite, but also by fear. And it was interesting you mentioned the Telegraph article, because there's long been speculation online that in previous ceremonies to do when the Queen was alive, royal ceremonies, that Harry and Meghan were perhaps recording. And there is this clip that's going round and round virally of Harry seeming to fiddle with the lapel on his jacket at a royal event, and much speculation that he was recording for Oprah. Now, we'll never know if that's true or not, but there may be an element of fear from William, and he would be right to worry that, anything that Harry is invited to could, if not be recorded, documented by him verbally, either in a book or in another Oprah interview or in any kind of reality series. We know he's done his Netflix series with Meghan in the past. And quite apart from that, I just think him being there in the congregation of any kind of service, royal service, would just create such an amount of tension among the rest of the royal family, especially if Meghan was to be present, that it's almost not worth having him there at all.
So, Tash, there is actually a lot to decipher there because even though this is stuff that we have been reporting for a long time, it's very relevant when it starts seeping out into the mainstream media. You know, William hates Harry. Breaking today, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have just been banned from this year's major royal wedding. And it is a particular humiliation for the so-called Duke and Duchess of Sussex because Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, who you might think are just a little bit more toxic at the moment, will be there. And actually, I do think this puts pay to some of the suggestions that there is this type of reconciliation going on between the fake royals and the real royals. Let's just leave King Charles to one side. I think the young royals absolutely have no contact with Harry and Meghan anymore and don't intend for them to be part of any major celebration. At the funeral of Prince Philip, when there were so many concerns about Prince William and Harry being in close vicinity of each other, he was chosen to stand between them. And so this idea that, oh, they've just drifted apart over recent years is rubbish. No. The other young royals, including Zara and Mike, including Peter, have made the decision to side with William over Harry. That is absolutely categorical. But this is how People magazine, but think about that. They haven't spoken for several years. They haven't spoken since Megxit. Like, what is this all about? Also surprising is the fact that Princess Beatrice and Eugenie have got an invite too. This now confirmed by The Sun. It's an interesting one too, because remember, William isn't it? Because this is like the ultimate snub to Harry and Meghan. This is a family wedding. This is something that in the past, there would have been an expectation that someone so high up the line of succession would have been. And the fact that the royals are briefing directly to The Sun that the king wanted Beatrice and Eugenie to be there and wanted them to remain part of the family is obviously like a dagger in the heart to Harry and Meghan, who are desperately trying to get back into the fold. What do you make of it?
It's crazy, Dan, that they're not invited just sends such a strong message as to where the younger royals stand on this issue, which is that I think especially the
Breaking today, the final traces of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle from the British royal family are being erased. And this is far more significant than just the destruction of their former home. So the couple's £2.4 million renovations, you'll remember how controversial these were on Frogmore Cottage within the Windsor estate. Remember Frogmore Cottage, which they renovated at vast expense to British taxpayers before being shamed into paying back the money. Well, all of those renovations are to be bulldozed. And this is very symbolic. King Charles is conceding here that Prince William is right about the fact that the Sussexes simply can never return to the United Kingdom in any form, can never have any royal role again. Their home, the place that they wanted to keep as some sort of base in the United Kingdom paid for by us, is going to go back to being multiple cottages because simply it is not fit for them to return. The Sun revealed the news earlier today as they reported the pad was converted from 2 semi-detached houses into one large family property after the late Queen. Rafe Hadel-Mancu is a royal historian, fellow at the New Culture Forum, and he joins me now. And Rafe, to me, this story is actually more significant than it may seem, because it is the royal family quite clearly drawing a line under Harry and Meghan's time here. And you will know, Rafe, King Charles has been facing a lot of accusations lately that he is behind some type of attempt to secretly return Harry and Meghan to the UK. It's been discussed as something called Operation
any sign of humility or any sign of understanding the way they do need to behave if they are to start walking back on that long, hard path back into acceptance. And however much or not the thaw may be coming from Buckingham Palace, certainly from on the part of the office of the Prince and Princess of Wales, things are as frosty, if not frostbitten, as ever.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, Rafe. Does this not show that actually it's Kensington Palace now that calls the shots on a lot of these big concerns of the future rather than Buckingham Palace? And part of that is because of the King's health battle and the fact that a lot of people feel that the, I guess, gravitational sort of direction of the monarchy is now being led by Prince William. And William is absolutely categorical. So his father might be a little bit softer. There's a whole load of reasons for that. But William is absolutely categorical that Harry and Meghan just have to be banished. You know, they have to live in exile. And William's going to be furious if the government and this Ravek committee give him the security protection back, because that means Harry can swan in and swan out whenever he wants. And what I believe is going on, Rafe, is that this is just a financial play anyway, because these two are dead broke. Now, that's not to say they don't have some money in the bank, Rafe. Of course they do. But the money in the bank is like the inheritance from Princess Diana and the Queen Mother. They're spending all of the money that they're earning on this astronomical security bill, this astronomical rental, but well, it's not a rental bill, is it? Mortgage on the property in Montecito. And I think they want to come back, use the proximity to the British royal family in order to get more financial deals. And I think William sees
a breaking royal news story now, and Prince William is taking a much harder line against Harry and Meghan than King Charles. Folks, it is war. Let's get reaction from the royal and entertainment reporter, Sarah Louise Robertson. Hi, Sarah Louise.
Mark, hello, I've missed you. How have you been?
I'm very well indeed. Fantastic to have you back on the show. Of course, you're now in charge of Digital Spy, which is massive for entertainment and royal stories. What do you make of this latest development?
Oh, it doesn't surprise me in the least, Mark. And we've known for a long time how Prince William feels about his errant brother, and in particular, his errant brother Harry's wife, the Duchess of Sussex. For William now, his disappointment has got to a point that he's almost resigned to their, shall we say, unroyal-like behaviour that they have displayed over the last several years. He sighs, he rolls his eyes. He's just fed up of it all. He really is. But I think William feels like much of the country does about them. But the difference is for Prince William is the danger that his brother Harry and his wife Meghan Markle present to him for when he does take the throne, because his father, King Charles, is insistent that Harry remains a Councillor of State. Now, some viewers might say, what's a Councillor of State? What does that mean? It means that if something happens to William when he's king, Harry would have the powers to act on behalf of him. That's not something Prince William's going to want to have happen, is he now, really? And that's not something the country's going to want to have happen as well. So I think while his father's still alive, his dad's not a well man, as we know. King Charles has got cancer, we all know that. And so I think William's just taking the soft, gentle approach right now. And okay, Dad, that's your choice. I get it. Harry's your son still. You are going to have that feeling that you want him back in the royal family. But when William does take to the throne, we're going to see a much harder line being taken by him, a much harder approach. Prince William is a man who does not suffer fools gladly. He's very like the late Queen, his beloved grandmother in that way. It's been instilled in him by her. All those afternoon teas that they were taking at Windsor Castle when he was a boy at Eton, the Queen was teaching him what's going to happen. She was showing him, this is what you do when you take over the throne. And William has learned from the best that there was, and that was the late Queen Elizabeth II. And it is always that duty and country comes before anything, before even family. It is your duty to the nation. That is what comes first and foremost. Now, that has been inputted in Prince William's mind since he was a little boy. He's a king in training. That was the job he was born to do, whether he likes it or not. That is his fate. And he has been set the most incredible example by the late Queen, his grandmother, and he will follow in her footsteps. And you'll see a very similar pattern. He's very similar to the late Queen. He's got that stoicism, that thing that I just love of we just get on with it.
Yeah.
That kind of man. And I think that's why the country respects Prince William, Mark, because he's a doer. He's not a traitor.
He most definitely is. Sarah Louise, Sarah Louise, you are ex-Daily Mail and now in charge of Digital Spy, who are massive for royal exclusives. You're one of the best connected journalists out there. What is your understanding of how William views his brother these days? What does William think of Harry, do you think?
As I said before, the line of disappointment, just bewildered and thinking, what on earth has happened to him? How has my brother been lost? And I think William has searched himself as well for answers to think, how has it all gone so wrong?
Does William still like his brother? Do they love each other?
I think when it comes to family and siblings, blood is thicker than water. And I think, yes, he does love him as a brother does. But does he like him? No.
And how much anger, Sarah Louise, how much anger and resentment it might be there on the part of William towards Harry? How angry is William about Harry, do you think?
Extremely angry. That's why I'm saying he loves him as a brother, but does he like the behaviour that Harry has displayed in the last several years? Absolutely not. He does not condone.
Would it be overstating it to say that William does not like his brother?
He doesn't like his brother's behaviour right now in the way that his brother's acted.
Yeah.
He doesn't like the way he's been. He's disgusted by him. He's appalled.
Wow.
He's let down by him. He's angry. He's still a very, very, very angry man. He tries to roll his eyes. But a lot of this comes down, Mark, to Meghan Markle. She is the fly in the ointment. And William believes that if Meghan wasn't on the scene, this would never have happened. No.
So William blames Meghan.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. This trouble all started when Meghan married Harry. They were rowing in the build-up to the wedding. Meghan upset Princess Catherine, William's wife, over the row to do with the children, the bridesmaids. It was a silly tiff, but William saw then Meghan's behaviour. And Meghan was dangerous. She was going to be a danger to the Waleses, and she was going to cause problems and dramas, unnecessary dramas. And as I say, William's a man who gets on with it. He's not into navel gazing, Mark, or psychobabble language, which we hear coming out of Hollywood, which has filled Harry's head with nonsense. William's a practical man. Okay, my dad's got cancer. It's sad, but I've got to get on with it. My wife's got cancer. It's horrible, but I've got to get on with it. I'm going to be the king. I've got to get on with it. That is what I have to get on with. He's not there saying, why me? This is awful. Why is all these horrible things in life happening to me? But he doesn't think like that because he knows it's happening to millions of people around the world. William is a doer. He's not a taker. He's a giver. He's a doer. He gets on with
and
the
he's
job.
not a victim. He's not a victim, Sarah Louise.
Exactly. That's exactly it, Mark. That's what I said. There's no navel gazing from him.
And he hasn't had too much therapy, unlike H.
Oh, no. No, look, William's someone who's advocated for people to improve their mental health. That is something he did when he set up the Heads Together Foundation. But not in the way that it's been weaponised by the Sussexes.
Most definitely. And I think there's a concern on the part of William regarding his father. He loves his father. He admires his father. But Charles has been a lot weaker on Harry. We had the Clarence House face-to-face, didn't we, in September of last year, which I think was a mistake because it's more material for the next documentary, more material for Spare 2. This time it's personal. So the problem you got with Charles, and I don't want to criticise him because I really like our king as well, but he's creating a problem for William in the future because when William becomes king, if Harry is in play as a royal, that's a major headache for William.
Well, this is it. So it goes back to what I was saying at the beginning. At the moment, Charles has made Harry a councillor of state.
Terrible.
It's a problem. So what William's going to have to do, and this is what I think William will do when he takes the throne, now this will obviously hinge on Harry still being married to that woman, Meghan Markle. So this all depends on that. If Harry is still married to Meghan, William will strip the titles. You've heard it here first. He will strip the titles. But if Harry's divorced from Meghan by that point, which he could be, who knows? It's a long time yet in the future. But if he's divorced by that point, William may take a different approach, a less harsh approach. Say, okay, Harry's now away from that woman. I'm going to try and repair my relationship with him. It'll take time, but let's bring him back into the royal family. But this is at the moment, we're talking a long way. This is all hypothetical if Harry is no longer with Meghan. If he is still with Meghan, bye-bye to Harry and Meghan. No more Duke and Duchess. That will be gone.
Briefly, do you think that a divorce between Harry and Meghan is now inevitable?
I'm amazed they've got this long. It's only because Harry's got 2 children with her. If one of the children was born in America, so he can't legally take Lily, the youngest, out of the States.
Wow.
Bring her back. Yes. Yeah. It's a very hard situation for Harry.
There you go. Sarah Louise Robertson, thank you. Keep it
Breaking right now, the British royal family mired in one of its biggest crises in history. But if you thought the Prince Andrew scandal was the end of the changes that are coming under King William V, let me tell you, you are wrong. Today, I can confirm plans by the heir to the throne to strip Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, Archie, and Lily of all royal titles as William's fury over the situation regarding the former Duke of York grows. Because William, let me be clear, does not believe his father, the cancer-stricken king, has gone far enough. He thinks Andrew should not even be a prince. He certainly should not be in the United Kingdom. Exile is the only answer. But the problem is that requires an act of parliament. That act of parliament, I am told, William also intends to use to finally jettison the Sussexes so that they would no longer have a title whatsoever and their children would lose what Meghan Markle once referred to as their birthright. This is going to be Prince William getting tough. And we already saw the impact that he is having, because while this is an incredibly difficult conversation to have, the power has already shifted to the heir in quite some way, given Charles's health struggles grow. He did make an appearance today in Manchester at the scene of the synagogue attack, which shook this country very recently. But it's heartbreaking to see. These are the cards that have been dealt, Brittany, and William is very, very clear that he cannot have Andrew and he cannot have Prince Harry and he cannot have Meghan Markle doing potentially untold damage to an institution which, let's be honest, is going to struggle a little bit during this modernization era.
It is. And we can see it already. I think the struggles and the tensions between, how do they move forward digitally and these sorts of things? Because I feel like we're seeing a slow adoption of, let's say, some video and social media and these sorts of things. And so the monarchy is very much, I think, struggling to modernize in some way here more than some of its other counterparts. And I'm sure William loves his father, doesn't want to think that his father isn't going to be around for 10 to 15, 20 more years. William, to his credit, is very much trying to set up his future, and I think that's a really, really smart thing to do. He's very aware of that future, and I think that is definitely a great direction to go in, but one I think that'll be a big struggle as well as they sort of kind of balance this father-son dynamic.
The thing is, Brittany, when you think about this, right, William is going to be ruthless in what he sees as necessary changes. to the British royal family. Now, traditionalists like you and me will probably struggle with some of these changes, but he has a big picture in mind, which, by the way, might mean that he's not head of the Commonwealth, might mean that he's not head of the Church of England. I mean, these are previously unthinkables. But what I'm very, very clear on is that there will be a streamlined monarchy. And if you are causing trouble for the institution, which, let's be in no doubt.
One aspect pulled out by one reviewer is, what do the Sussexes need to learn about the way the family dealt with Prince Andrew? When they see problems, they close ranks, Tom.
They do, and I think that Harry and Meghan must be absolutely terrified now that what was deemed to be absolutely impossible to believe, that you could strip Andrew of his titles because of complicated acts of parliament and everything, they fudged the constitution and just did it with a signature on a letters patent. And if the Sussexes misbehave anymore, I can imagine, if not Charles, at least Prince William, when he becomes king, stripping of their titles and being rid of the problems in Montecito.
How fulfilled, or otherwise, is Prince Harry?
Oh, I think he's feeling very, very miserable at the moment. It's a shame. Look, he was a hugely loved figure, second in popularity to the Queen, and then along came Meghan, who was his safety net and great lover and great friend and everything. He didn't realise that she was really manipulating him, encouraged him to feel grievances about everything, not least about his brother William and the amazing fact that he become king and not Harry, and Meghan was unhappy she wouldn't become the Queen. And I think he's gone to California. It was great in the beginning, but it's a ruthless society there. You know, if you're not up, you're going down. And they're going down and no longer as wanted and as popular as they used to be. And so it's a great struggle for him.
Everyone, it's good to have you here again. If you're new, you're stepping into a space where we unpack the stories, narratives, contradictions, and ongoing tensions surrounding the British royal family, particularly the continuing public fascination with Prince William, Prince Harry, and Meghan Markle. Today's episode focuses on a recurring theme that refuses to disappear from royal commentary: the strained relationship between Prince William and the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, and the way the media continues to frame that relationship years after Harry and Meghan stepped away from royal duties. Because even now, long after the formal separation, the story keeps coming back, not quietly, not neutrally, but with intensity, with emotion, and with a narrative that suggests unresolved tension still sits at the heart of the monarchy's most famous family divide. So let's get into it. For years now, especially around 2023 and 2024, royal reporting has repeatedly circled around one particular idea: that Prince William remains deeply affected by the breakdown of his relationship with Prince Harry. At various points, media outlets have quoted unnamed sources claiming that William has struggled with anger, frustration, and resentment toward both Harry and Meghan Markle. Some reports even went further, suggesting that William's emotional response was not just sadness or disappointment, but something more persistent, something closer to fixation. The language used in these stories has often been striking. Words like incandescent rage have appeared in commentary pieces and tabloid interpretations of palace dynamics. Other reports described William as being unable to fully let go of the breakdown in his relationship with his brother, with Meghan often positioned as the central reason for the rupture. According to those narratives, William allegedly viewed Meghan as the turning point, the moment everything changed between him and Harry, the moment the bond fractured, the moment trust dissolved, the moment family became institution and institution became conflict. But as time went on, something interesting happened in the media cycle. The intensity of those stories began to fade, not necessarily because the underlying situation changed in any publicly visible way, but because the narrative itself shifted. Instead of focusing on anger and conflict, coverage began emphasizing William's role as a future king, a man focused on duty, modernization, environmental causes, and preparing the monarchy for the next generation. The tone changed, the framing changed, the emotional language softened, and yet, even with that shift, the underlying curiosity never fully disappeared, because every so often a new report emerges that drags the entire conversation back to where it started, back to Harry, back to Meghan, back to William, back to the unresolved question of whether this royal rift is truly behind them, or simply being managed more quietly. Recently, new claims surfaced suggesting that Prince William, once he becomes king, may choose to permanently distance himself from both Harry and Meghan. According to these reports, rather than rebuilding or repairing ties, William is said to prefer a complete separation, not just a formal one, but a final one, a closure, a drawn line under the Sussex chapter of royal history. One unnamed source described the idea in particularly dramatic terms, suggesting that once William has full control of the monarchy, the curtain will come down on Harry and Meghan's role in royal life entirely. Another source went even further, suggesting that William would take a certain satisfaction in making that decision. Now, it's important to pause here and acknowledge something fundamental. These are claims from unnamed sources. They are not verified statements from William himself. They are not official palace communications. They are part of the long-running ecosystem of royal reporting, where information is often filtered through layers of anonymity, interpretation, and media framing. But even if the accuracy of each detail is uncertain, the persistence of the narrative itself is significant, because it reflects how the public conversation continues to imagine the future of the monarchy through the lens of unresolved family tension. Another recurring theme in these reports is the idea that William believes meaningful reconciliation with Harry may no longer be possible as long as Meghan remains central to his life. Some sources suggest that William still sees Harry as his brother, someone he once shared a deep bond with, someone he grew up alongside, someone who understands him in ways few others can. But they also suggest that William views Meghan as the key dividing line in that relationship. According to this framing, Meghan is often portrayed as the catalyst for change, the influence that shifted Harry's priorities, the presence that altered his relationship with royal duty, the figure who changed the direction of his life entirely. In this narrative, William's alleged frustration is not just about public interviews or memoirs or media projects. It is about transformation, the transformation of Harry from royal insider to outsider, from institution member to critic, from brother to separate public figure. But there is another layer to this that is often overlooked in simplified reporting, because relationships inside families, especially families under extreme public pressure, rarely operate on a single cause and effect explanation. They are layered, they are cumulative, they evolve over time, and they are shaped by far more than any single person entering the picture. Still, media narratives tend to simplify complex dynamics into digestible storylines, and one of the most persistent storylines in the royal coverage ecosystem is the idea of blame. Who is responsible? Who caused the rupture? Who changed whom? In that framing, Meghan often becomes the focal point of explanation. But that raises a broader question. Why does the narrative repeatedly seek a central figure to explain a multi-year, multi-layered breakdown between two brothers who grew up under extraordinary circumstances? Part of the answer lies in storytelling itself. Humans prefer clarity over complexity. We prefer identifiable causes over distributed ones. We prefer characters over systems. And in royal reporting, those instincts become amplified. Because this is not just a family, it is an institution. It is a symbol. It is a global narrative engine. So the need for clarity becomes even stronger. Another claim circulating in recent commentary is that William believes Harry and Meghan's marriage may eventually break down. This kind of speculation is particularly striking, not because of its accuracy, but because of its nature. It moves beyond institutional analysis and into deeply personal territory. It shifts from public roles to private lives, from policy to prediction, from governance to relationship forecasting. And that shift itself reveals something important about how the story is being told. Because if someone is truly irrelevant to your life, you typically stop making predictions about their future. You stop analyzing their personal choices. You stop forecasting their relationships. The fact that these narratives persist suggests that, at least in the public imagination, the Sussex story remains emotionally unresolved. At the same time, another recurring theme appears in commentary about Prince William, the idea of comparison. Comparison between William and Harry. Comparison between their public roles. Comparison between their perceived success, stability, and influence. Some narratives suggest William views himself as building a stable, long-term foundation for the monarchy, while Harry is portrayed as having stepped away into uncertainty. In that framing, William's life is often described in terms of structure, responsibility, and continuity. Harry's life is described in terms of independence, disruption, and reinvention. And from that contrast emerges a familiar media trope: jealousy, the idea that one brother is observing the other through the lens of what they have or have not achieved. But this framing can be misleading when taken too literally, because it assumes both individuals are measuring success using identical criteria. It assumes that institutional position is universally desired. It assumes that leaving that structure equates to loss rather than choice. And it assumes that external observers can accurately measure internal emotional states from afar. None of those assumptions are guaranteed to be true. What is clear, however, is that the Sussex narrative continues to occupy a persistent place in royal commentary, even after years of separation, even after major life changes, even after multiple public statements and publications. The story continues to reappear in cycles, and each cycle tends to reintroduce the same core tension: the relationship between two brothers whose lives diverged in ways that remain deeply visible to the public. On one side, William as the future king. On the other, Harry as the royal who left. And between them, Meghan as the figure often positioned, fairly or unfairly, as the catalyst for change. Whether or not that framing is accurate, it remains one of the most enduring narratives in modern royal coverage. Ultimately, what makes this entire conversation so persistent is not just the individuals involved, but what they represent. William represents continuity. Harry represents departure. Meghan represents transformation. And the monarchy itself sits in the middle, balancing tradition with modern scrutiny, privacy with global attention, and family with institution. That tension is what keeps the story alive. Not just the people, but the roles they are seen to occupy. So when new reports emerge suggesting unresolved anger, permanent separation, or future predictions about relationships and marriages, they do not exist in isolation. They plug into an existing narrative framework that has been building for years. A framework that the public recognizes instantly. A framework that media outlets return to repeatedly. And a framework that continues to generate attention, discussion, and debate. As for what is actually happening behind palace doors, the truth is far less accessible than the commentary suggests. Real conversations between family members are private. Real emotions are not fully visible, and real decisions are rarely as dramatic as headlines make them appear. What we see is a curated version of events filtered through reporting, interpretation, and narrative tradition. And that means the public is always, to some extent, looking at reflections rather than direct reality. In the end, the question is not just whether Prince William feels a certain way about Harry and Meghan. The deeper question is why this story continues to matter so much to the public, and why it continues to be retold in increasingly dramatic cycles. Perhaps it is because it reflects something universal: family conflict, distance, change, and the difficulty of reconciling shared history with different paths forward. Those themes are not unique to royalty, but in the case of the British royal family, they are magnified, scrutinized, and endlessly replayed. Thank you for listening today. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future deep dives into royal commentary and analysis. And now I want to hear from you. Do you think the narrative around Prince William and the Sussexes reflects real, ongoing tension? Or is it more a product of media storytelling that keeps recycling familiar themes? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, take care, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next episode.